Alright, welcome back to this Hatch First Zerg vs. Zerg little build order guide, even though it's not really a build order, it's kind of a play style. Again, we're going to be taking a look at Blade, who was the author of this guide, and well, not the guide, but I guess the build, and he's going to be fighting a teal Zerg. It looks like it was from a tournament or something, named Please Leave Duck. Your build is going to be essentially the same. We're going to see what he didn't do in the last game that I told you should do, is that he's scouting close by air with his Overlord, and then he's going to scout on 9 if he does not see the enemy Overlord coming, just so he can find his opponent in time to see if there's any super early pool or anything like that. But in lower leagues you will see really fast spawning pools a lot more often, like a 6 or a 9, anywhere between there kind of pool, meaning that they're going to get Zerglings in your base really fast. And again, if you see that type of scouting read, which we're not going to see here, but if you do see it, just throw down a spawning pool of your own right away and get some Zerglings out and just beat him in the Zergling versus Zergling battle, considering you should have reinforcements right at your door instead of him having to run his reinforcements all the way across the map. So you should be fine in that situation if you react accordingly. Again, he's going to be spreading his overlords around the map so he has full sight of where the Zerg, or rather where his enemy, might be running units across. And that's very important in this matchup. Don't ever forget to spread your overlords. But what Blade is going to see this game, he's going to see no pool, and he's going to see these drones coming out, acting as if they want to start a hatchery first. So this is going to be the way you're going to want to react to hatch first or eco builds, as opposed to that 14 pool, 14 gas like we saw in the last game. It's a 15 hatch, and Blade in the meantime threw down his own hatchery, which, I mean, you're going to do in either situation anyway, so it's basically the same as the last part of the video thus far. But the difference is the way you're going to react to this second hatchery. You're going to react a little bit differently, play a little bit more defensive, and you're not going to have a set timing in which you can basically walk in there when your upgrades are done and fight them, because they'll kind of be on the same pacing as you. So you really have to just sit and wait for a good opportunity to go in there and strike. So we're going to see hatchery is coming up, and again, as soon as you have the minerals for your pool, as soon as your hatchery is done, you can start your pool if you want to. But in this build, since it is pretty eco-aggressive, Blade likes to wait until about 17 to drop his hatchery, or not his hatchery, his spawning pool. So it's going to be a little bit later spawning pool, a little bit later gas, but we're going to see a different transition after the spawning pool is done. Once he gets enough gas for a Baneling's Nest, he's going to drop that, and then he's going to defend with his 6 Zerglings and his couple of queens that he's going to put out as soon as the spawning pool is done. So again, the number is about 6 to 8 Zerglings. Sometimes he'll produce just only 4 and then use 1 to scout. But again, it just depends on what you see with your overlords. So keep your overlords active so you can see when he's coming, and you'll have plenty of time to spend your larva on Zerglings instead of drones if you think that you need to put Zerglings out in order to fend this off. Down comes the Baneling's Nest as soon as he had the gas for it. 2 queens in production, 1 at the main, 1 at the natural, and there's 6 Zerglings popping. And he can see this teal player moving his Zerglings across the map via his vision on his overlords. So you can see them right there all coming through. So he knows what he needs to put out in order to hold this off. So he has Zerglings of his own. His queens are going to be ready, and there's no way these Zerglings are going to beat you if you have queens and Zerglings, unless you completely screw up your management of those units. If he tries to go for your queen, it doesn't matter. Just surround his Zerglings so he can't go anywhere, and you're not going to lose anything. So that was a really bad read by this teal Zerg player. But it kind of feels like people are pretty, not the smartest Zerg versus Zerg players anyway. So you're going to run into a lot of people making a lot of mistakes in this matchup. Now, as soon as your Baneling's Nest is about halfway done, start your Roach Warren. The faster Banelings are going to be for a 2-base Zergling all-in that you're going to need to hold in the event they were going to do that. But this player is not. He's going for a faster Roach Warren of his own. And yeah, their Roach Warren will be up a little bit before yours, but this defensive timing makes it so that your buildings will come up essentially at the same time as theirs, in the sense that your units are going to be at this point in the map at the same time that theirs will. So it's no problem to be just a little bit behind in your buildings, but if you stay on this normal timing of spawning pool into Baneling's Nest and Roach Warren, or in the other case, if they're going for that quicker pool into If they're going for that 14 pool, 14 gas like we saw before, you're just going to go spawning pool after your hatchery's done, straight into a roach warren, and produce the units that you need on the field to hold that off. Like other matchups, Zerg versus Zerg, or rather Zerg in general, you're just going to produce drones unless the opponent gives you a reason to produce something else, up until you want to start attacking. So just produce nothing but drones as much as you can get away with. Hold off any little piddly attacks like the Zerg player is making again, making really bad decisions with the Zerglings once again, just throwing them away and putting Blade in the lead in terms of supply. At least he was there for a second, and he will be as soon as these drones pop. But nevertheless, he's going to be getting his evolution chamber again. He's going to try to get his +1 roaches going, and he's going to put up a lair and speed, and then his infestation pit, just like before. Your end game is going to be roaches and infestors later in the game, but the reason you're going to open up with this economics is that it's still safe from any normal sort of aggression. By normal, I mean it's not like anywhere below a 9 pool. You're going to still be able to hold it off with this opening if you manage your units correctly, and eventually, if you force them into the late game, you're going to have a better economy almost every game, and it's going to come down to just using your units and then using your infestors properly, which we're, again, not going to see infestors in this game because I tried to choose shorter videos so that I could show the whole game instead of super long Zerg versus Zerg, where it's just roach versus roach with infestor support, and the semantics of it are a little bit tougher to explain. Nevertheless, we're going to see this Teal Zerg making a nice advancement with his units, and he's going to go ahead and be attacking in here. Use your Banelings wisely again. Try to blow them up on as many Zerglings as possible. Don't waste your Banelings on roaches. There's no reason to use that. And then once you get into this roach versus roach encounter, you're going to want to try to focus down roaches individually as much as you can. So what you should be doing is shift Q up, kill this roach, kill this roach, kill this roach, and try to whittle down their numbers faster than they're just hurting yours. So again, good unit control here from these roaches to cut off the Teal Zerg's roaches. And again, this Teal Zerg is not making the best decisions. He's trying to just focus down drones when in reality he's just donating roaches for almost nothing. And here comes the roach speed from our blue player, which is who we're watching. Here comes the +1. He's going to throw down a second evolution chamber. His infestation pit should be right behind it. But if you notice something like them taking a third, this is your opportunity. You can do a lot of damage off of 2 bases with this Zerg eco play, but you're going to be looking for just a nice opening to attack them, and this is begging to have it be attacked. So if you see them throw up a third, go for it and go get them. Your roach speed should be done right about then. His is about halfway done. It's not going to finish then. Your +1 should be done. If that attack fails, you're going to have 2 attack, 1 armor roaches on the field with speed right after that. So you'll still be in really good shape. We're going to see a little bit of an engagement here coming, and it's going to be a Zergling roach versus just pure roach, and these pure roaches will win considering they are outnumbering these roaches. And here's this little shift Q micro that he's doing, just focusing down every roach one at a time. You can see his numbers whittling down a lot faster than the blue Zergs. So this blue Zerg is going to deny this hatchery, and at that point this Teal player is so far behind that this game's pretty much over. And when you're on this 2-base, fully saturated economy, you can flood out roaches. You can see 12 more roaches are on the way. So that's essentially going to do it for this video. To recap, you need to essentially play reactively with this build, but you're still going to play kind of dictating the tempo. You're going to scout with your first Overlord. If you don't see them on your close by air positions, or if you don't know where they are right then, send out a drone scout on 9. You're going to make your Overlord on either 9 or 10. It's up to you, whatever you want to do. 9 is slightly better by just a tiny little margin in this build. And then you're going to scout out there. If you don't see a pool coming down, or at least finishing very soon, you're going to throw down your hatchery on 15. Your spawning pool is going to be right after that if you do see a spawning pool. If you don't see a spawning pool, your own spawning pool is going to go down on about 18. That is if you see a hatchery before spawning pool. And then there's 2 different directions you're going to take depending on if they went for that pool. If they went for a pool first, you're going to go for a roach warren right afterward. If they went for a hatchery first, you're going to go for a baneling's nest right afterward into roach warren. So I hope all that makes sense. It's a little bit confusing to divulge all the little interweaving paths, but if you need reference or anything, I will link the Team Liquid thread where I got this build from, and you can also go back in this video and check it out. As far as I know, my information has been very accurate, and if it's not, after watching this, I will just recast it. So I do like to make sure you guys have as good of information as possible, and I hope this build works out for you in Zerg vs. Zerg, because there's a lot of different ways you can play it, and it kind of seems like a coin toss, but this is one of those builds where you can kind of prevent that coin toss, and it just comes down to your own reactions and your own ability to make decisions that are best for what you need to be doing, rather than just blindly throwing stuff out there. So again, a couple of other things I didn't explain in the actual build when I was just quickly running it over. Spread your overlords out so you can see everywhere that they might be coming, so you can react to them properly. And look for a good opportunity to strike. If you know you're ahead because of previous engagements, or if they're taking a third before you are, go ahead and move in, because they're going to be behind in terms of resources and in terms of army. That's your time to strike, and if you have speed +1 roaches, then you'll be in great shape. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I'll be back for more casts soon. Take it easy.